All right. Well, welcome to the Exchange. This is a part of the Future of Health neighborhood. So what you've seen when you came through that green arch there is kind of this vision of what the future of health could look like. So this is like a neighborhood for the week. So you have doctors over there, Oshner and Xavier, that have a medical college that they've come to put up together. That's only the fifth HBCU medical school and the first in the Deep South. So they're over there. You have our friends over at Vituity that are showing you things in AI, VR, and they have these cool relaxing chairs over there that will change your life and prepare you to walk up and down the convention center floor. Let's see what else. You have the Park and Play, you have Jenga, Connect 4, all that cool stuff. And this is the Exchange stage. And so the idea here, we got a couple back-to-back sessions here where we're gonna talk about some things in the future of health. So we have a conversation we're gonna have now, and then right after that, we're gonna have an interactive happiness lab. So we're gonna jump into it with our guest. I want you to introduce yourself to the people, and we'll go from there.
Hello, my name is Nika Ford, and I'm a certified medical illustrator, and I'm so excited to be here today.
Welcome, Nika, please. Say that last title again, because people don't, I think people need to feel that.
I'm a certified medical illustrator.
She is a certified medical illustrator. So tell us a little bit about that, and yeah, tell us about that journey, because I think that is a lane in health that combines creative and science that a lot of us are not aware of. So talk us through it a little bit.
So my background is as a traditional artist. I went to art school. I'm actually from Atlanta, Georgia, and I went to Georgia Southern University to study fine art. And I ended up finding out about the field of medical illustration. I had always had an interest in science and anatomy, but I didn't know how to pursue that as an artist. Turns out there is a field that combines the two perfectly. And so as a medical illustrator, I work with doctors, I work with research scientists, and I use visual media to bring complex topics in science and medical information to life. So that can be through illustrations, it can be through 3D models, animations. It's basically the process of using visual media to explain things in science that usually may be difficult for some to understand.
You know, I know that, I mean, not having a scientific background, but I know that complex things make more sense to me when the visuals represented look like me. And that's not always the case in our doctor's offices, medical books, and all those things. So talk about how some of your work is leading to that and making that a little bit more inclusive, so it's a little bit more engaging, it's a little bit more exciting, and a little bit more tangible.
So I noticed pretty early on when I was studying anatomy and when I was studying in school to be a medical illustrator that there was a lack of diversity in these sort of illustrations. And for me, I didn't like that I didn't see myself in the images. I felt like that kind of impacted me in a way. So as a medical illustrator now, that's been my main focus of all of my work, is bringing inclusion and diversity into these kinds of images. When we can see ourselves in medical and health information, it helps to retain the information better, and we're also more interested and engaged in the information, which is a really important part of learning and understanding the material.
That makes a lot of sense. So take us to your current journey. You're not only working on that just, throughout the work, but now you have a specific diversity fellowship that leads to some of the things we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so the images that you've probably seen around the space are all created by medical illustrators. This is the one that I created. The others are done by other artists that are part of a fellowship called Illustrate Change. And this fellowship was created by the Association of Medical Illustrators. And so this fellowship was designed to allow these images to be accessible for people to use. They're free to download on the Illustrate Change website. And they're free to use for educational purposes, which I think is a really, really great model to allow folks to be able to access these images and use for free.
So in the example we have, before we get into like the details of it, this particular illustration has a special meaning to you. So tell the audience a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was assigned this condition in the fellowship. It's called Arcus Senilis, and so I had creative control to develop the imagery for it, look up all the research about the condition, and then create the medical illustration. And so when I was assigned this, I realized that my father had this condition, like his eyes had a blue ring around them, but my family never knew why, and so did my grandfather. He had like a really bright electric blue ring around his eye, but no one really knew why. We had speculations, like my family thought it was because my father had took this sulfur medication when he was a baby, and so that was just what we assumed was why. We had no idea. And so when I was assigned this condition to illustrate for the fellowship, we all realized like what it was. And so Arcus Senilis is actually very common. People of older age, like after like the age of 60 or so, start to develop or can develop a blue, gray, or white ring around the eye. It's around the cornea. So the cornea is like the the brown part of your eye. The ring forms around that. What happens is with older age is that you have an accumulation of lipids, which are basically fat molecules that build up, and when those build up around the eye, they create a ring. And this is much more common in people of African descent. So Black people, also Asian, people of Asian descent also have a higher expectancy to develop this. It does not create any health problems. It's actually just like a thing, a circle around the eye, like a color around the eye. It doesn't create vision impairment, no sort of issues or anything like that. If it develops at a younger age, let's say if you're like under the age of 40 or so, there can be some underlying health concerns. If that's the case. Also, if you have like bilateral Arcus Senilis, which is like if you have someone that just has the blue ring around one eye, that can also be a concern where you maybe need to see a healthcare professional to see. And the illustration actually explains those two things at the very bottom. And then at the top, we have just regular Arcus Senilis and then the anatomy of the eye, so you can see like where the different sections of the eye and where it shows up.
I'm always just amazed by people who have like these creative gifts and they're able to use them for a bigger impact. So talk about like how like the feelings, how it felt to be able to make something like that very relatable and to create like almost a lasting way that visual is going to inspire other people, and it's your dad.
Yeah, it was very meaningful to me because it was a family member, and this image here, it actually is of my father.
Oh,
so I had him.
Way to surprise! Oh man!
I had him pose for me for the illustration, and so that's why it was such a full circle moment, like for my family. As a medical illustrator, I always have a reference, so I always have to have someone pose for me if I can for an illustration, because it just makes it more realistic. So I might use friends, I might use family members. If I can't find anyone to pose for a reference, I'll just look up images online to help me, kind of get an idea of the form, the human form. But yeah, this one is, I asked my dad to pose for me, and it's of a condition he has. So that's probably the first time that has ever happened to me. And so that, being a family member, was just very meaningful.
That's amazing. And I think before we see if there's any questions, I think one of the things I wanted to ask you too is like, I'm just learning about certified medical illustrators. I never knew the faces and the names behind these illustrations I see. So how did somebody go on this journey? Like, what would you recommend if there's people out there who's like, man, this is something that I might want to do? Like, what advice would you give, education-wise, or joining associations, or, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, so I would say if you have an interest in science and you're an artist, is to basically try to get more knowledge on the sciences. And if you're in the sciences and you want to be a medical illustrator, take some art classes. So it's a literal combination of both. So whether you're on one side or the other, I would say do what you can to get the knowledge and skill base on the other side of that. So there's different ways you can do that. You can get a dual degree. There are programs that offer undergrad degrees in medical illustration, and there are programs that offer graduate degrees in medical illustration, which is what I did. So there are actually 5 accredited universities in North America that offer a graduate degree in medical illustration. And so I went to University of Illinois, Chicago, and my BFA is in art. So so kind of getting the knowledge on both sides. There are also some resources online. I would say the best resource is the Association of Medical Illustrators, AMI. They are the premier leading organization of medical illustrators in the world. I'm a member. The AMI is also the one that are the ones that created this Illustrate Change Fellowship that allowed for the creation of all these illustrations. So that's a great place to check out, AMI.org as well.
All right, do we have any questions? Any questions? Well, how can people, did I miss something? How can people connect with you and also connect with AMI to learn more about this?
Yeah, so if you'd like to see more of the illustrations from Illustrate Change, they are available on illustratechange.com. There's going to be 100 illustrations available on that website for download for educational use. And to connect with me, again, my name is Nika Ford, and I have a company. It's called Enlight Visuals, Medical and Scientific Visualization. So I'm Enlight Visuals, so it's Enlight_visuals.
Is that EN or?
Yes, it's ENLIGHT_visuals on Instagram and on Twitter. And I also have a TikTok, so my TikTok is my name. It's Nika Ford_.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. All right.